Hey everybody, I hope you're all doing well. I wanted to send you guys a little something different today as opposed to my normal weekly email. One of the things that you guys had requested was more work, more information on motivation. And I have a large email ready to be sent to you guys, and I thought to myself, man, I really just need to send this out in a video because it's over, looking at it now, it's 8 pages, nearly 4,000 words. I'm going to attach it as a Word document for all of you guys. I hope you read through it because there's going to be some more details in that email, in that Word document that I'm not going to get to today. But I just want to give you guys something a little different, show you a little excitement. So some of the key factors to motivation, specifically to sustaining that motivation, is establishing intrinsic versus extrinsic motivation. Okay, that and then how our thoughts affect our belief systems is next, and how those thoughts impact our environment, and how that environment plays a crucial factor in terms of us staying motivated to do anything, whether this is exercise, eat well, anything you're looking for that requires motivation. You got to start with that intrinsic versus extrinsic, which is why is this important to me versus somebody told me I need to exercise or somebody told me I need to do this, whatever that is. And then our body's hormones, they actually play a big factor. We're going to talk about dopamine, which is that feel-good hormone, or cortisol, which is our stress hormone. Both of those have some positives and negatives associated with staying motivated. And then lastly, we're just going to discuss a little bit about willpower and discipline, and how those things, really we need to be focused on creating healthy habits instead of being focused on discipline and willpower. So before I go into all of that, I just want to give you guys a little perspective, a little bit more about me. When I was in high school, I started high school, believe it or not, 5'1", 105 pounds. To say I was scrawny and a runt of the group is a bit of an understatement. I loved playing football growing up. I loved watching football. My days were consumed by football. I was convinced that I was going to play college. I was going to play professional football. I lived, eat, breathed football. But being 100 pounds as a freshman, when some of my teammates were 6 foot tall, 200 pounds, that seemed pretty far off and was a little bit discouraging at some points. But I knew that I had to get bigger, faster, stronger. Those are definitely extrinsic motivations. Those are more focused on the body. And when you make certain goals based upon your body, that's an extrinsic motivation factor. Those typically are going to die off over a period of time. But most important to me was my intrinsic motivation, or my intrinsic drive, to play that sport that I loved. And I just knew I had to do those things. I had to get bigger, faster, stronger if I wanted to continue to play, because playing at 5'1", 105 pounds was not going to get the job done. So from freshman year to sophomore year, I lifted weights at the high school, and then sophomore year to junior year, in junior year to senior year, I lifted with my best friend in his basement. His dad played football for Nebraska, and he gave us workouts to follow. He gave us tips, and one of the things that we did was we actually put our goals up in masking tape on his basement wall. I kid you not, every year at the end of football season, we would talk about, what do we want to accomplish for next year? Where do we want to be, for our lifts? Where do we want to be for body weight? Where do we want to be for our speed? And we would take masking tape and we would tear that up, put it up, write it out on the wall in masking tape. And every single time that we wanted to quit, every time that we wanted to end a workout early, we had to look at those goals, and we never ever quit. When those goals stare you in the face and you know why those goals are important to you, you are far more likely to succeed. So we worked out 4 times a day, or 4 times a week, excuse me. Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday, like clockwork, get home from school, go to this basement, lift weights for an hour, hour and a half. And then we would come upstairs and we would have these god-awful protein shakes. This is 15 years ago where protein shakes don't taste like they do today. Today, they've got cookies and cream and all these different fun flavors, and chocolate actually tastes like chocolate. Well, we had to sit there and we had to plug our noses and close our eyes so that we could just down this disgusting shake. And we did that every single workout for 4 years. By the end of senior year, I was 6 foot tall, 190 pounds, closer to what I am today, which is 6'1", 205 pounds. So not far off from what I am now, but that's certainly a far cry from where I was back when I first started freshman year. So that's just a little bit about me. I wanted to talk next about those thoughts and those belief systems. We need to make sure that when we are setting out to do something, you have to believe it. You have to believe it that it's going to happen, and you have to associate positive outcomes with what you're doing. I knew working out was what I needed to do in order to play the sport that I loved. And a lot of times what I see people coming in is they come in and they think, okay, I've got to exercise and eat better so that I look better, or I got to get my numbers down for my doctor so he's happier. And those things don't last. In fact, we see studies time and time again that when you compare groups of exercisers who are focused on extrinsic or external goals like fitness related or body image type goals, compared to that of people who are doing it for the sake of enjoyment, from challenging themselves, acknowledging that accomplishment of overcoming something, those people who have those intrinsic goals far in a way succeed in exercise longer, stay more consistent, stay more motivated to do the things that they want to do. So it's really focusing. It drives home again that you have to have those intrinsic goals, and it starts with how you think of exercise, how you think of nutrition, or how you think of anything that you're trying to accomplish. If you think of exercise as a punishment for going out and having some dessert, or going on vacation. Most of us just got back from spring break, so I got to go punish myself and work off all these calories that I just consumed because I was a lazy bum on the beach, or whatever the case is. That motivation tactic never works for the long term. It can get you kind of off your butt right now, but it doesn't last. As opposed to, I need to challenge my body so I can see what it's made of. I can see how far I can take it. I need to exercise because when I'm done, I notice that my mood increases. I notice that my energy level goes up. I notice that I'm more present with those around me. I have better interactions with those people around me. Those are all things that make sure that we stay on top of it. In terms of nutrition, I see this all the time. There's a big difference between a cheat meal and a reward meal. Okay, it's truly the same thing. It's eating not according to your plan, But Friday night rolls around and you tell yourself, okay, I'm going to cheat tonight because I've been really good. Well, that's not very smart, because internally we were all taught that cheating is bad, and when we do something bad, we need to be punished. Okay, or there should be some form of punishment for that cheating. So just the fact that you're telling yourself you're cheating sets yourself up for failure. As opposed to, hey, I'm going to reward myself tonight. I'm going to have that burger, fries, or pizza, or whatever that is that you want, that you're going to have, because you've worked really hard. Not only worked hard on your exercise, but you've worked hard on, maintaining solid nutrition habits throughout the week. When you think like that, and you have positive thoughts, and you foster a positive relationship around food and around exercise, and you focus that, food fuels your body, it gives you great energy throughout the day, gives you great mood, you are able to sustain a constant nutrition habit, or a constant motivation in order to stick to this nutrition plan. The other thing is your environment. Your environment plays such a huge critical factor in you staying motivated. I use an extreme example of, can you imagine, or just imagine for once, that you have a neighbor who throws his garbage into your lawn. And for the sake of the example, you don't say anything to him, okay? You just simply let him pile that garbage on week after week, month after month. Pretty soon, before you know it, your neighbor's got you brainwashed to start throwing your own garbage on your lawn. And pretty soon after a full year of this, your lawn is a complete disaster zone. The value of your house has is completely gone through the floor. Okay, it just looks disgusting. We would never allow any of this stuff to happen in real life. Unfortunately, we do this all the time in how we think about exercising and nutrition. When we embark on working out at the gym and we tell people that, I'm going to start lifting weights to try to lose some weight or feel better or build muscle, you get people who project their prior experiences on you all the time. Well, hey, be careful, don't lift weights too often, you don't want to get too bulky, or, oh, I tried that nutrition plan and it didn't work for me, I actually gained weight on it, so you should probably just stop right now. People do that to us all the time, whether they mean to or not. They're sabotaging us when we're bombarded by these thoughts and feelings of other people who have tried to do what we're doing, but they're just giving us their negative experiences. So we have to be mindful of our environment. Our family does this to us all the time without even realizing it. You don't let your family members know or your coworkers know that you're trying to become healthier, create some healthier habits, and because they don't know, they keep offering you the things that you maybe are trying to replace. It's the little snacks at work or the after dinner treat or glass of wine after dinner, whatever that case is, or just eating out a little bit less, making more homemade meals. Your friends, your coworkers, your family, they keep suggesting these things and they keep sabotaging you because they don't even know it. So you have to be careful of that environment and let those people in your environment know what you're trying to accomplish. That's something that Katie and I deal with often. We constantly, when we travel to see family for holidays, we always go out and exercise in the morning. And sometimes that means that we do go to bed a little bit earlier than some people. We don't need to be staying up till midnight, 1 a.m. anymore. So there are times where we're hanging out with friends or family and it's 11 o'clock and it's okay, we got to get to bed because we got to be up by 6:30 in the morning. Well, we're certainly guilted by some of those people. Oh, come on, can't you just miss one day? It's just stay out a little bit longer. You don't need to exercise every day. And the thing is no, you don't need exercise every day, but holidays are stressful, and we use exercise as a form of stress relief. So that's why it's important for me to get up at 6:30 in the morning, go work out so that by the time everybody's waking up, my day starts off on the right foot and I'm not allowing my environment to dictate me. So just keep that in mind. The other part of your environment is what you might be using to watch this video right now, and that's your phone. You have to be mindful of that environment on your phone. It's the Facebook, the Twitter, the Instagram, the emails. That stuff bombards us all day long, constantly getting notifications from us. Okay, somebody commented on my status on Facebook, I got an email from my boss at work, and I got to check it right away. That stuff constantly kills our motivation because we can't focus on anything when you have that around all the time. Not to mention that most of those social media platforms and the news, that stuff is mainly negative. At least for most people, you can certainly filter out some of those negativities and make it more positive. But for the most time, it's negative. Some examples I see all the time are someone gets cut off at getting on the highway, and someone makes a comment like, "Oh, I can't believe that jerk just cut me off." And then you get people who comment on that all day long into the next day. Oh man, I had that happen to me last week. Well, now you're reliving your experience and their experience, bringing your energy, your mood down because you're focusing on a negative. Or someone says something like, "Oh man, you're lucky," or "He's lucky that I wasn't there because I would have done something about it." So now you're focusing on physically harming somebody, and you're constantly bringing this up again. And this goes on and on. Every time you get a comment, a like, that stuff constantly gets brought up. So social media, really, for a lot of people, is just a place for them to air their dirty laundry and gripe, and that negativity seeps into our life. So really, I just urge you guys, be mindful of that stuff. Okay. And then the fourth part that I wanted to get into is our hormones, our dopamine and our cortisol. Those things have a huge important factor, or they are a huge important factor into our motivation. Dopamine, as we know, is called the feel-good hormone. Okay, it's a neurotransmitter that controls the brain's reward and pleasure center. So, when we do something that we perceive as good, we get that rush of dopamine. So when we work out, when we finish 15, 20 minutes later, we get that rush and we feel good about ourselves. We feel accomplished. We have an increase in mood, increase in energy. And pretty soon, over time, when just the thought of exercising or thought of anything that makes you feel good, you get that rush, that little high of, okay, I just accomplished something. So that's the good side, because you can use that to your advantage with exercise or eating healthy. But the same thing happens when we eat a meal that's high in carbs, high in sugar. We also get a dopamine rush from alcohol and drugs, which is the negative side, is that we can abuse those things to make ourselves feel better temporarily, right? So if we're stressed, which I'm going to talk about in a second, we can deal with stress by eating, and in the short term it makes us feel better. Grab some candy, grab some ice cream, grab some wine, beer, whatever that is, and that stress goes down in the short term, but long term it's going to come back up because it's not lasting. And now we're creating a cycle where we're doing something that works against our health and works against our goals. Which leads me into my next point, which is cortisol, which is that stress hormone. And there actually are some very positives when it comes to cortisol. It's actually something that when we wake up in the morning, we get a little burst of cortisol, which again we know is the stress hormone, but it's also part of our flight or fight system. So when we wake up in the morning, we get this little shots of cortisol. It wakes us up in the morning, or at least it's supposed to, so we get up and we accomplish the things that we need to do. We actually get cortisol when we work out as well, and that cortisol actually breaks muscle down, which for the long term would not be good, but in the short term, breaking down muscle is good, because when we work out, we break down muscle, and then through proper rest, recovery, and nutrition, that muscle comes back stronger and bigger depending on how we're training it. So we want to make sure that, a little bit in the short term, that cortisol actually does a lot for our body. The other thing is that just like anything, when we learn how to, if we increase stress and then learn how to bring it back down through proper rest and recovery, and then we stress our body again by working out, we teach our body and we teach our mind how to properly deal with stress. I'm a big believer in that. When you are strength training, you are not only getting your body stronger, you are getting your mind stronger. You can overcome so much more when you know what you are physically capable of doing. So that's the positive side. Again, the dark side of cortisol is when it's just left unchecked and it's constantly high. We don't do anything with it, or we do, or we control it through some outside measures that aren't good. Just a quick read something for you guys, and again, if you check out the article that I send with this, you're going to see this in here. Cortisol is public health enemy number one. Scientists have known for years that elevated cortisol levels interfere with learning and memory, lower immune function and bone density, increase weight gain, blood pressure, cholesterol, heart disease, the list goes on. Chronic stress and elevated cortisol levels also increase risk for depression, mental illnesses, and lower life expectancies. Okay, those are all things that I'm confident in saying none of us want. So we have to make sure that we're dealing with stress appropriately. So we deal with stress by releasing dopamine. Okay, and as we said before, we can do that in a very positive way. Exercising, going out and just taking a walk, enjoying nature, spending good time with friends, having a laugh. Or we can do something that's more negatively impactful on our health, like eating a high-carb meal, high-sugar meal, turning to drugs or alcohol, stuff that we really know isn't good for us in the long term. Okay, so something like that, we really want to make sure we're dealing with that cortisol, dealing with that stress throughout the day. So as I mentioned to you guys, back in high school, I had great thought and great belief system around my goals. I knew exactly why I was working out. I knew why it was important to me. I had a great supportive environment. Like as I mentioned, My best friend's dad, he gave us great advice. He made sure our nutrition was on track. My family and siblings and teammates were all supportive of working out. It was just a great environment to be around. Now, that's not to say I didn't deal with stress at all in high school, because the thing is that, yes, I'm in high school. The stresses that I face now are different, but stress is stress. No matter how you slice it, the body can't perceive what that stress is, whether it's not making enough money to pay the mortgage or just stressed out because you're the scrawny little runt of a 9th grader trying to survive high school. Stress is stress. So that's important to remember. And then making sure that we understand the full story, right? Everybody's got a story. So understanding where we all come from is hugely important. So I definitely had stress in high school. Like I said, I was small. That was stressful, knowing that some of my teammates were nearly twice my size. Obviously, getting into high school, started becoming interested in girls. And again, being the runt of the litter, not very appealing to the women. Okay? Plus, they were just a puzzle. And sometimes, to be honest, sometimes they still are. But that's just a little bit of a joke, a little humor. They were definitely a puzzle in high school. Then, of course, I come from a family where both my parents went to college, so getting good grades was expected. Anything less than an A was really not acceptable. So had that pressure for grades, to be the first grandchild to go to college, on to higher education on either side of my family, my mom's side or my dad's side. And then they actually they split up just before high school, so they're going through a messy divorce. My uncle was ill, passed away in high school, and then I broke my leg my junior year, and I was told I wasn't going to be playing again. Thankfully, I learned how to deal with that stress. Some of my teammates did not. My teammates were not, they did not learn that valuable lesson of how to properly deal with stress, and those same teammates struggle with things today because they never learned how to deal with stress appropriately. For me, it was going and playing the sport that I loved, playing rugby, which I loved, that I got into later in life, and using exercise as a way to be a stress relief and not just trying to focus on building my body the way I wanted it to. So the last part of all of this long-winded dissertation, is just understanding that willpower and discipline really are things that, in my opinion, don't exist. Okay, we've studied willpower, which is doing something just for the sake of doing something. That could be like, I'm going to cut out soda. And you have enough willpower, okay? You only have so much willpower, it's finite. So eventually that willpower to stop, or that willpower to cut out soda is going to eventually run out, and you're going to give in. We've all been there, right? We say we're not going to do something, we're going to cut something out, and eventually we give in to that, okay? Unless you focus on why it's important to you and you build healthy habits instead of cutting something out. Say, I'm gonna drink more water, and that allows me to drink less soda, okay? And discipline is a myth. It doesn't exist. We do things based on habits, right? Like, how ridiculous would it sound to say, I need to be more disciplined on brushing my teeth and taking a shower, right? Like, those things don't happen. We never think of those things that way. Exercise is no different. When you think about it because it's important to you, got to keep your teeth clean, got to keep your body clean, smelling fresh, you're not the stinky person at work. We just do these things because they're habits and they're important to us. Exercise is no different. Nutrition is no different. If you focus on the good, you want to put in more good instead of cutting out the bad, okay? So I'm going to exercise 3 to 4 days a week because I know how it makes me feel. I'm going to change my nutrition. I'm going to eat more vegetables because I know they give my body nutrients and fuel to run on, instead of I'm gonna cut out carbs so that I can eat more broccoli, even though broccoli is boring, right? That stuff doesn't work. That's why I say discipline doesn't work. You have to love what you're doing. You have to love the way you feed your body. You have to love the way you exercise. You have to love yourself so that these things stay, these things stick. If you don't do those things and you just focus on that extrinsic motivation, it's never going to last. Extrinsic motivation is a great quick punch to the arm to maybe get you in action, but in order to keep that momentum going and to build momentum, you really have to focus on, why are these things important to me? Why is it important for myself why is it important for me to take care of myself and understand what drives you. I'll leave you guys with a quote from Gandhi that really, I feel like, sums up everything that we've talked about today. And that is, your beliefs become your thoughts become your words become your actions become your habits, and your habits become your values, and your values become your destiny. So, what is your destiny going to be?